Hey, what's up, guys? So, Dr. Ben here. Get questions all the time. What do you think about the carnivore diet? Carnivore diet, carnivore diet. What do you think about this carnivore guy, that carnivore guy? Does it help with autoimmune? People say it helps with autoimmune. And so I just wanted to do a video today and give you guys my thoughts, my reflections on it. Got a lot to say on this topic. Don't really have this video planned out, but just kind of want to weigh in and wrap with you guys. So obviously, if you've been paying attention at all lately, there's a lot of these, the carnivore diet has exploded in popularity in probably the last few years. But I want to kind of go through like a history lesson and talk about like what's been going on, because it's a relatively, new trend, shall we say. I mean, they can argue that the Eskimos were doing it and blah, 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 but it's a rather new phenomenon. And for someone like me, who's been doing what I do for over a decade, it's kind of a blip on the radar. And I've seen a lot of trends come and go in that time. And just to take you back, in the 90s, there was Dr. Atkins who popularized the low carb diet. You got to eat low carb, you can eat all the meat and bacon and eggs and cheese you want. Stay away from the carbs. And so he popularized that in the 90s. And then, of course, in 2003, dude croaks, having a heart attack and falling on the ice and hitting his head. And, of course, they say, oh, it's because he slipped and fell on the ice. But then, the autopsy report shows he's like a deuce and a half on the operating table. And you go, okay, well, maybe the dude was fat. Maybe the dude actually, had a heart attack. And so the data shows that that basically he had heart disease, and that's what he died of. Fell on the ice and hit his head, right? But we all like to remember, Dr. Atkins, right? So then that was kind of stage one, and then mid-2000s, the paleo diet comes along, right? And everyone's like, oh, paleo, let's all act like cavemen and eat what cavemen eat. And that's a good idea, right? And I think to their credit, they got some things right? They realized that modern agriculture definitely had some issues, and that especially things like GMO crops were kind of bad news. And so that was kind of like sciencing the low carb diet. Like, well, let's eat how our ancestors eat. Let's not eat agricultural foods. Let's eat meat and vegetables and things that aren't grown agriculturally, which is like grains. And then, of course, they said, oh, there wouldn't be very much fruit going around. There wouldn't be 14 mangoes that you could put in a blender. Now, of course, ironically, we'll get to it, but all the carnivore guys are like adding fruit into the diet. Like, what? Y'all were bashing fruit for like decades, and now it's like the thing you add in to balance yourself out. And what's also interesting about this whole crowd is the coffee, right? It's like, coffee wasn't invented the year 1500, but somehow Paleolithic man had access to it. No! It's because you aren't eating any carbohydrates. You're trying to burn fat for all your energy, and you have no energy, and so you got to coffee up and caffeine up to actually have energy or do your CrossFit workout or whatever cavemen used to do. So then eventually everybody bonks out on the freaking paleo diet eventually, right? And they just double down. Like low carb wasn't low enough. You got to do no carb, right? And then the keto comes along and everyone's like, oh yeah, keto, it's like how you lose weight really fast because you deplete all your glycogen stores, all your stored sugar, you burn through that, and that, of course, is bound up in a bunch of water, so then you lose a bunch of weight really fast right in the beginning, right? And then you get the keto crotch and the keto flu and the keto cough and the keto death and the keto heart attack, and you're like, this is really good, I'm losing weight, there's all these side effects, right? And so people were doing that for a few years, and then it was like, oh, you know what, we're still having problems, it must be the freaking vegetables, guys. It must be the vegetables. That's why we're having trouble. So if we just cut out the freaking vegetables and we just do corpses only, carnivore diet, then that'll be a good thing, right? This is genius idea. Why did it take so long to figure this out? We went from low carb to paleo to no carb to no plants, and now this is going to work, right? But you still got to do coffee, right? You still got to do coffee because you won't have any energy. I mean, that's is coffee meat? Well, we just are so addicted to it, we don't want to talk about it, right? So that was kind of the strategy. And now things are coming full circle where, a lot of these carnivore guys are like, well, I got my blood work back, and I'm technically on paper diabetic, but I still feel great, right? It doesn't count, right? My cholesterol's through the roof, but it doesn't count because I'm doing carnivore. And then this whole business about the Eskimos, right? Oh, the Eskimos were carnivore, they ate like 95% animal foods, and they, were like super healthy, and they survived in the snow. And so the Eskimos, the Inuits, they're the model of how I want to live my life. Okay, well, keep in mind that if you actually look at the epidemiological data before the intervention of Western diet, culture, and medicine, the Inuits lived on average to age 39. So I'm at 40 years old. I'm past the expected lifespan of an Inuit. What did they die from? Osteoporosis at 39. And they would have constipation so bad that actually in the Inuit pantheon there was a fart god that they would literally pray to be able to poop. Okay. So many carnivores coming out. The funny thing is that they still keep eating fruit. Yeah, what is this? This is like a new thing that I've noticed. It's like they used to bash carbs. Carbs are bad. Fruit is like the worst. Eating a mango is like a Snickers bar. We got like 14 Snickers bars in here. And now it's like, now they're eating fruit, right? Because they bashed vegetables way too hard. So they can't like come back around on that and say, oh, we were wrong about the vegetables. But no, fruit is kind of okay. Fruit, we don't really know why, but we're including it, right? Like, gotta have some carbs because, this whole corpse, it's funny because they like each stage of the game, they pretend it's working. Oh, low carbs really working. Oh, no, paleo is what you gotta do. Paleo. Oh, no, you gotta do primal. Oh, no, low carb is too low carb. You gotta do keto. Oh, keto has too many vegetables. You gotta do carnivore. Oh, carnivore doesn't work. I'm technically diabetic. I gotta add in fruit. And here I am, been doing fruit-based diet for frickin', 11, 12 years. And it's like, y'all are finally figuring it out. Y'all are finally figuring it out. Right? After bashing it for frickin', decades, you're like, well, maybe this fruit thing isn't so bad, okay? But it's interesting that they keep iterating, right? Radically changing, like, their story and what they eat and, like, what they're dealing with. And me, it's like I've been healthy and symptom-free for, like, a decade and still doing the same thing, right? Still doing the same thing. I mean, with the seasons, it changes. Like, when there aren't no more mangoes in October, we're not going to be able to do this, right? But, like, for real, guys, it's like if you look at it through a big enough lens and you've been watching what's going on for long enough, you realize what a freaking circus it is, okay? Now, can you reverse autoimmune disease on a carnivore diet? Perhaps you can. But what about all the side effects that you cause, right? Giving yourself osteoporosis, giving yourself constipation, giving yourself hardening of the arteries, giving yourself high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, kidney problems, body odor, like all these things. Is it worth it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that sounds like not a fun way to live. I would rather just be slamming back mad fruits, living life, enjoying it, helping people heal, feeling vibrant, feeling alive. I think it works a lot better. If you want to keep, going down the corpse train. And oh my God, some of these guys are just like obviously on the juice. Like, I mean, come on. I'm not going to name any names, but I think who I'm talking about in that movement. And some of them have admitted to it, right? Like Dave Asprey's admitted he's on the juice. Mark Sisson's admitted he's on the juice. And some of them are just like in denial, but it's like obvious, right? They're on the freaking juice. The only juice I'm on is the green juice. Thoughts on all organic? Yeah, we won't name any names, but okay, yeah. Ron Baker, might be on the gear, just possibly. So we got a question here, organic, necessary or not? I think organic's awesome. I think it's not the end all be all. You can still heal and get great results eating inorganic fruits and vegetables, but if you can get it, you can afford it, do it. But I don't think that it's like, some necessary thing. I don't think it's something like, shoot for it, but get the best quality fruits and vegetables you can. But if you can't get organic, don't use that as a reason to not eat fruits and vegetables, because they still are the healthiest food. And the data is pretty clear that you get the health results whether you eat them organic or not. But of course, you want to support things that are, good for your health and good for the environment and all that. So, yeah, let's see. How many glasses of juice will you take per day? I don't really do juice. I do smoothies, right? Like, I'll generally do enough to fill this Vitamix. Usually like fill it once for breakfast, fill it once for lunch. And then for dinner, usually making a huge salad where it's like I make some kind of homemade dressing out of like, mangoes and tomatoes or something like that, and like fill it, maybe part way, maybe you have to like here, and just pour that on a bunch of vegetables and do that as dinner. But yeah, generally don't do juice per se. I mean, like here and there, and like in citrus season, I'll make a lot of like grapefruit juice, orange juice. But generally like to keep the fiber and do the smoothies. So hope that makes sense. Yes, we need the fiber for our gut microbiome. Good point. Yes, like all these people like bagging on fiber. So okay, we got a question. What ingredients the smoothie has? This smoothie is literally just like 14 mangoes, like 7 yellow mangoes and 7 red mangoes, okay? You don't really need to like mix a bunch of ingredients together to do a smoothie. You just, I just didn't want to sit there and eat 14 mangoes. It gets messy. I'd rather just put them in the Vitamix and, knock them back. So let's see. What questions else do we have? Yeah, we need the smoothie for our gut the fiber for our gut microbiome. I mean, these people bagging on vegetables, like the gut microbiome, the good guys feed on the fiber. Like we can't digest the fiber. They have to break it down, and it's food for the healthy microbiome. So like fiber is this weird nutrient that like we don't actually like absorb it or break it down, but it does a few really important things. Number one, it slows the absorption of sugar in the bloodstream, right? Okay, so you might think, oh, this is gonna be like a sugar rush. I'm gonna take a sip and be like, oh, no, because there's fiber in it, okay? And so the fiber slows the absorption of the sugar into the bloodstream. All right, so that fruit never causes a blood sugar rush, but if this was like Coca-Cola and I just chug this, there's no fiber in that. We're heading into problems, okay? Number two function of fiber, feeds, helps you poop, obviously, duh, okay? And then number three is it feeds your good gut microbiome. All these people out there selling probiotics, you gotta have good gut bacteria, you gotta buy my probiotic. Like, no, dude, because if you just take a probiotic and still eat like crap, those bacteria aren't gonna live, they're gonna die. The trick is to just feed the good guys the good food, and then they stay alive, and you don't need some kind of bacteria in pill form. I think that's one of the biggest scams of the 21st century is like, oh, you gotta take probiotics, guys. Like, no, you just gotta like feed the bacteria, the good bacteria, the food that they're supposed to eat, and then they live, okay? Get to the root cause of the problem. Stop trying to address the symptom with a Band-Aid. Seriously. Okay. Plants don't want to be eaten, that's why they're toxic. Yeah, okay, that I love that one. It's like, okay, why do they taste so good in their pure state, right? It's like, they're cooking all this meat, seasoning it with this and that. Like, if it tastes so good, you should just be able to eat it raw. Fruit looks good, tastes good, and when you eat it and spit out the seeds, poop out the seeds somewhere else, guess what? You help the plant propagate. So it doesn't get much more natural than that or meant to be than that. Let's see, we got some questions on here. Okay, I had high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and I was worried to do carnivore, and I thought everything would go through the worst. First time I went into optimal range. See how it goes with that long term. Okay, let's see. Juice gets right to our cells, which is good if it's not fruit juice. Too much sugar too fast. Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think there's still value in like eating the whole plant. But yeah, definitely not going to bag on green juice too hard. All right, let's see. Okay. All right. So anyway, it's kind of funny to see all these carnivore people doing the fruit now, but I like it. I'm glad to see it's happening. So that is pretty much it for today. And if you ever have any questions, drop a comment on this video, send me a DM. And if you got anything else you'd like to see me do a video on, because I got asked to do this one and I was like, I might as well come out and do it, just hit me up in the comments. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Rob was saying, okay, I'm not trying to be ignorant. Oh, of course not. Could be different results long term. Yeah, absolutely. I think that long term, a lot of these people don't do well. And that's why the diet keeps iterating, right? That's why it was like low carb, then paleo, then primal, then keto, then carnivore. Now, carnivore plus fruit, right? Like every 2 to 3 years, they do some major shift on it. And they say, oh, that wasn't working. We got to do this now, right? Which, is good, right? It's way better than to keep doing the same thing and getting a bad result. But at the same time, it's like, you're obviously not on the right track if you keep having to iterate and change it and go, what you're saying was the best thing ever. 2 to 3 years later, you're like, oh no, that was actually a bad idea. We're doing this now. Shows that it's really it's getting some kind of good short-term results, but in long term, it's not sustainable. So that was kind of my thoughts on that. Yeah. All right, guys, I will catch y'all next video. Thanks for watching. I have a special gift for you. The Autoimmune Recovery Blueprint is my free 11-page guide, which will give you the tips to get started on healing from autoimmune disease naturally using diet and lifestyle. This blueprint is everything I wish I'd had back in 2010 when I came down with an autoimmune disease and doctors couldn't help me. Everything you need to begin or accelerate your healing journey. Free when you sign up for my email list.